Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports We Build podcast, where most shows in this space talk about the symptoms of youth and school sports culture, like your crazy sports parents, coach burnout, kid dropout, bad communication, where we like to go one level deeper, where it's a show about people building the future of sports and the systems underneath those symptoms. I'll tell you, sometimes if I have to be super accurate on something, I'm more likely to mess up. So just even on that open, I even read it multiple times. The systems behind the symptoms. I used to struggle with the word shoulder growing up.
Why?
I forgot how I used to mispronounce it. It's like shoulder. It's like the one word I couldn't say. Did you have any words like that growing up where you just like struggled?
Yeah, we had like funny family words that we would like. My family, instead of saying some things like gross, we say it's tucka, which is like, no, tucka. That's like, or I think we would say like tomatoes. Now I'm blanking on the way, or a dog we would call a wo-wo.
A wo-wo. Okay.
A wo-wo. It was like me and my little brother would have like these names for things, but it wasn't because I guess it's a mispronunciation, but it's just like, because that's the way that we said it when we were little. And then you have like family words that you still say even as adults.
Yes. Yeah. And it's tough because with kids, you want to be able to correct them whenever they're saying stuff like that. But at the same time going, they're not, like, they'll eventually figure it out. Right. But they won't say it incorrectly forever. Yeah, it was
speaking of kids,
shoulder or soldier. That was my thing. Soldier or shoulder. I couldn't get those figured out. But yeah, speaking of kids.
Let's enjoy this silence that we will record this podcast. No interruptions of children screaming for snacks or fighting. Finally.
The kids are back in school.
Yes.
Which is great. This was our first year where both of our kids were genuinely looking forward to going back to school.
That's nice.
And a friend of ours came over yesterday and asked my 11-year-old, "Hey, how was your first day of junior high?" He says, "I think I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just glad to be out of that prison." So,
it's talking about the middle school?
Talking about the grade school. Okay. So the grade school, we have like kindergarten goes to one school, first grade goes to another school, and then 2nd through 5th grade go to the elementary school.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But this summer, they built a new fence around the play area just for security reasons. So now it just kind of looks like,
I see.
It looks like a prison. And that's just, so he was just glad to be out of that prison, even though, and you get, obviously growing up, right? You get more, like, you're at the junior high now. You're not in the same class every day with the same teacher. So he's my kid who he wants to grow up. So yeah. How have your kids handled going back to school?
How have my kids handled going back to school? Well, mostly well. We did have some tears last week, and Adeline had a rough day on her second day of kindergarten yesterday. We had a call from the school that she broke her arm falling off of the monkey bars. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
But
first day, kindergarten, and now she's got something on her arm.
Yeah, second day, which is going to be tough for T-ball.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see. We'll know more after today.
So I think this is like an unexpected topic. What happens when you are the coach and your kid's on the team and then your kid can't play?
And you asked all your friends and their kids and siblings to join so that the team would be big enough because you were coaching. Yeah. I don't know. We have her appointment
coaching everybody
with
else's kids.
Yeah. We have her appointment with ortho today, so I'll find out like timeline of what we're looking at. But yeah, she's super bummed. She was really looking forward to playing. And she just got her new helmet and all the things. So we'll see. I don't think she fully understands like the ramifications of the fact that she's in like her cast is like elbow above her elbow all the way down to, so she has to keep it 90. Yeah. So she broke the radial something right at the elbow, but such is life. I broke my arm as a kid. I was a little older, but kids' bones heal fast.
I broke my collarbone end of summer right before 7th grade. So
it's easy to do. Collarbone breaks pretty easy, right? It's like 8 pounds of pressure or something, they say.
Yeah. I mean, so when I landed on my shoulder on the concrete and then I got up and rotated my shoulder a couple times, it was,
Ouch.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not going to share how I broke my arm. We'll just call it a biking accident.
It sounds like a really good story that you should maybe tell sometime, but we don't necessarily have to do that today. We opened up, and I hope that those of us who are joining us already know who you and I are, but I did not introduce us.
That's okay. Hopefully they do.
But I always introduce you. So who are you for those who are joining for the first time?
I'm Morgan. I am the founder of Positive Play Project, which is a platform to share insights and ideas and create a community of youth sports.
You have some helpful guides on there. Like for people who are just getting into the space, I guess their first year, they don't give a handbook to many volunteer coaches.
Yeah.
Right. And you've created some resources for people to use, right?
Yeah. Mostly around communication between parents and coaches and athletes, and just like navigating that, as I wholeheartedly believe communication is almost always a problem. It's almost always a solution. And so, yeah, sharing my professional experience in the HR life, kind of in the youth sports space and coaching and leadership. So I coach sports, youth sports. I am a mom. I am now a league leader
and president
of a league.
And president of the league.
Building out the board, slowly but surely coming together. So all the things. What about you? Introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Nolan, and I am a business owner. I run HeyCoach.team, which is a team management and communication software for schools and youth sports where no app download is required. And it's built on that premise of like, hey, what is our role as adults and coaches for these students to teach them how to communicate? And, we don't talk a lot about, we were just talking about something like this. When it comes down to communication, like you emphasize this. We have a volleyball coach that we both like to follow on the Instagram. And
love her, yes.
Yes. Ariel Houlihan.
Mm-hmm.
She's awesome. It's weird. I get it. There's ways that people talk about female leaders versus male leaders, and they use different adjectives, which I don't think is fair. Right. And so I just appreciate her, period. So I'm going to say that before
for context, she leads and owns a boys volleyball club out of California as a female owner,
and
founder. Her husband also coaches with her, and he coaches at Stanford as well. But yeah, they're a volleyball family. And I mean, she's assertive. She's smart. She's intelligent. They're like winning national championships. Like she's built this club, and they are high performing. Yeah. A lot of her players go on to play at a very high level. And I love, like, her whole channel is just built around this. She wears a microphone, and then the camera is opposite of where she's at. So you can kind of get an idea of what's going on around her. And most recently, some of her players described that the net was too short. Low during warmups. Yeah. They were hitting on during warmups, which you played volleyball at a high level, and you made a good point. You made a good point that said, if you've been playing volleyball for any amount of time at any high level, you can almost guarantee that exactly where, if you put your hand up in the air, where that net's supposed to go. It's how we would like measure, like at practice, and no one's busting out like a chain. Everybody, you just, like the net typically hits me like right in my knuckles. Yeah. And so her players realized that like it wasn't hitting in the normal spot, which is different than sand because there's hills and valleys and sand volleyball courts, right? So the average person may not realize that. But I will, it's a big deal because, as most sports are, it is a game of inches. So like a half an inch here or there makes a significant difference if you're playing at the level that they're playing at. It's not just like we got it close enough situation. Like it really matters. Anytime I hit the tape, it's the net's fault. Like it wasn't, or whoever set the net up. Like I don't hit the tape when I'm attacking. I'm sure that never happened. But I'm a right side, and we are special. We're a special breed. We're not middles like you. We just always do it right. Okay. Anyways, you're just gonna let me have that? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What am I gonna say to that? That's gonna prove. Just think about all the right sides that you played with. let's just go play.
Just think about all the right sides that you played with.
Talk the talk. I'll walk the walk.
You know that a libero is different than a DS, and your outside hitter is different than your middle, and they have different personalities. And are there not like stereotypical personalities based on position?
I'm sure there are. What does this have to do with you being on the right side?
I don't know. I'm just goofing. Anyways, in this video, Ariel, female coach, goes up to a male down ref and nicely, "Hey, we think the net's off. Can we get
my
it checked?"
players are telling me that the net is not the right height.
Yeah. And the dude, like, I don't know what was going on with him, but he did not like to be, he communicated, "Please don't tell me how to do my job." Which,
kind of like he was ignoring her /
yeah, she had to like say something twice.
Yeah, she was like, is that okay? Can we get it checked? I'm just trying to, and he was like very dismissive.
Yeah. And then he finally went and got it checked. It was off.
Correct.
And she had mentioned something that her players thought it was like 6 inches off. And he then, I could have just left it at that, could have checked it, realized, hey, the net's off. That's our bad, and left it. However, the video goes on to show that he followed up and said, hey, you don't need to exaggerate how.
Like very aggressively communicated to her.
Correct.
Not kindly. Right.
All that could have been cleared up in a number of different ways. Like in communication, there are two parties. And I think sometimes it's unfair for us. And I think it's important that you have those tools out there. Because in communication, there's two people. One is talking, one is listening. And if the other one is putting all the responsibility on the other person to get it 100% right, I think that's where communication breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you have those tools out there.
I mean, I try to lead from this for myself in like all areas of my life, but like always assume positive intent, like going into any situation, right? I try to like from both sides. So I think in that situation, both sides could have benefited from that. But like, why do you want to be, I'll link the video. Like, why do you want to start that way? Or I don't, like, we're all here for these kids that are just want to enjoy this game and have fun. And yes, it's a highly competitive environment. But like, we don't have to be,
Yeah. Positive intent would say she genuinely believes what her players are telling her.
Sure.
Right. As opposed to he definitely took it the wrong way. And, he was definitely not positive intent in his responses. But if you were to have extended positive intent to her, then it could have gone differently. Now it doesn't go viral, then we're not talking about it. But I think that's the whole point of what it is we're trying to do. Like we're trying to transform how we're interacting with each other.
Right.
I was just at my son's play tackle football.
Mm-hmm.
So how it works where we are 4th graders and 5th graders who are playing for the first time play what they call 4-5s. Then 5th graders who've played before, they play on the 5th and 6th grade team. Because the 4 and 5s for tackle football, it's very slow. The quarters are shorter. There's like no clock, so to speak, because they want to make sure all the kids are set up correctly. So like every single play is, that kid needs to move. Like they're trying to teach them how to do the game right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why your first year 5th graders tend to play on the 4-5s. And then the ones who have some experience play on the 5, on what they call lightweights, 5th and 6th graders. And then 7th and 8th grade team is heavyweights. And these are independent from schools, at least here in Illinois. And I know it's different. It's done differently in different states.
Our leagues are separate from the school. They're kind of like associated with a general area of schools, but they're not ran by the schools. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tough listening to adults who don't know what's going on in the game just yell random stuff from the sidelines.
Yeah.
And
that happens everywhere for all sports, but yeah.
And unfortunately, this is some folks that I've talked to before about stuff. And they couldn't care less about what I had to say regarding the rules or how something's handled in a situation where it's like, you don't have to be yelling this thing because this thing is actually, redundant for this, and they'll check it at the end of the quarter. And their response to me, this is again, different season, different sport. I don't care. I can't see that. So I'm going to yell until it gets fixed. This is, if anybody has ever kept book or anybody has ever helped with a scoreboard, then you know the feeling. People yelling at you from the stands because they're
ridiculous.
They're up there with their notebooks. Stop. We scored. Because this matters in the scheme of things.
Clearly.
I heard a wise woman once say
Oh boy.
towards parents, it's not about you.
I did say that recently on
You did.
a podcast.
You did say that on another podcast.
It's that's kind of like I wonder if anyone from my previous Apple management life will see this. I used to say that to my employees nicely when I was when it was a big joke.
Yeah.
And we had like a big whiteboard in the back of house. And there was like a quotes at the top of it. And for a long time it said, "It's not about you," like Morgan. And I was like, you know what? It's good advice to live by. It's not about especially in youth sports as parents or coaches or anybody else if you're not the athlete.
Right. But I think that's part of it. And this is at least for me, what I'm passionate about in sports is there's so many different activities that people can do. And I think each activity doesn't necessarily have to be this, what am I learning about myself through this activity? Right. I think if you play board games, play board games. But if you have an issue where you keep losing and you're like throwing pieces and flipping the board over and doing stuff like that, then you might want to consider what board games or how you respond to board games teaches
Sure.
you about yourself.
Right.
I think what I love about sports compared to a lot of other activities that kids could do, whether it's the arts, music, STEM, that sort of thing, is there's so much emotion baked into sports because you have these elements where kids are trying to accomplish things that they may have not accomplished before. They're learning skills that they're really trying to hone. And then when you get into that conversation of winning and losing before a certain age, that tends to come from, you have your kids who intrinsically want to compete, but they may not know how to keep score. And then you've got the parents who do know what the score is, and they want to, it's conversations all the time. Do we keep score? You asked me a question recently about whether or not 9-year-olds should be able to steal home.
We were discussing that in our league, the rules for that we're going to be working with another league on and trying to figure out. And obviously you have more experience in this area than I do. So,
and I can tell you this, the question should not be a particular rule in that regard. The question should lead to another question, which is, let's do a quick mental exercise. What benefits the kids to playing with this rule? What is it going to lead to? Because I can tell you from experience where we found ourselves in tournaments as 9-year-old, with kids as 9-year-olds playing high school rules. There's so many moving pieces in baseball between leading off, pickoffs, drop third strike, infield fly, which I've seen varsity baseball teams, I've seen college teams, I've seen pro teams get the infield fly wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
How to navigate that situation. And then you're asking 9-year-olds who are just learning this for the first time, if you throw it past the catcher, which happens half the time or more in kid pitch, if there's a kid on third, you better run home because that kid's stealing home.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is the first year that a lot of these kids are playing kid pitch too, which is like a whole other, doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
All in the name of, and these are we've seen this, we're building these things around the 1%. Well, we want these elite kids. And our last thing we had a video do pretty well, engagement-wise. Thousands of views, dozens of comments around how much activity a kid should do in the week. And sometimes I think we're just so enamored by exceptionalism or the outlier that then we try to create the system around those. No, they're exceptions for the reason. There's guidelines for a reason. And so what are we doing trying to teach more complex rules to games at a younger age when half of these kids, they're not even going to know that rule 10 years later because they're probably going to quit the sport within 5 or 6 years. We're doing that for the elite kid. So why are we inverting in a lot of situations how we approach sports? And so to me, that answers the question. The question is, what does it benefit our kids to play with more complex rules at a younger age so that they're more prepared for high school? Wrong question. That's the wrong answer.
Right. The wrong reason to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that they can better compete later on. No, actually the kids who compete later on are largely the ones who become athletic. I keep telling this to my 11-year-old who's got big dreams. Buddy, I think you've got great vision. I think you have great IQ. And I think that you are above average in skill. Right now, you are lacking in the height department and the speed department. Hopefully that kicks in for you when you turn 16, 17, and that's going to give you a really good indication of whether or not you're going to be able to achieve these dreams that you have as an 11-year-old.
Sure.
If I were to treat my kid as if he's exceptional, I would just be blowing smoke the whole time. Go, yeah, dude, you're going to accomplish your dreams. And what happens if he doesn't get bit by the athleticism bug and he's just
Right.
average athleticism? So play for the love of the game, play to be the best version of yourself at the age that you're at, and still love the game when you're older. And so those are the questions that should be informing how we build sports
Mm.
for kids. And that
Right.
is, yeah.
Right. It's like your North Star. Like, what is the goal? And then every decision, your values, we talked about this before, right? Should be filtered through that. Like, should we be stealing the base? Well, what's the purpose of this season? What are we trying to achieve? And then if it doesn't align with those, then no. Or if it does, then, keeps
Yeah.
it easier to make decision. Like, and there's 100 of those one-off things that get brought up all the time. And that's why we talked about before of like getting really clear about whether that's you as a league leader or you as a parent for your athlete or a coach, like, and hopefully everyone's on the same page there, that like, what are the reasons and purposes that we're here, that we're doing this, that our kids are wanting to do this, and then make decisions that
We
support that.
100%. You should be making decisions around the 99%,
Right.
not around the 1%.
Yeah. I saw on Jonathan's podcast that like we're getting this wrong in the US in a lot of areas, but it's a good call out. We can keep talking about it and
Yeah.
reinforcing. Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about what you bring to the space is you mentioned this, like there's a professionalization layer that could be added, right? So just because something's rec doesn't mean it should have less of a standard. It should have less of an expectation for doing things with excellence and doing things well.
For sure.
So organizationally, we should be able to pull some things together in a way that is clear about the expectations of behavior, the expectations around participation, the expectations around gameplay, around instruction. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to get at, where I think some folks in this space where we're seeing more of the professionalization trickle its way down into youth sports to where we've got these youth sport athlete influencers who are trying to like nail down endorsements as kids and then trying to leverage that to make their way onto rosters. I guess there's more than one way to get to college ball, but what I hear from college coaches is like, it has nothing to do with how many followers you have. If you can't play, like you're not going to play on my team. So why are we why are we letting the wrong things of professional sports make its way into youth sports?
For sure. And I'll also call out, like, not only is skill highly important, how you conduct yourself as an athlete, how your family conducts themselves as parents are all highly taken into account on a very high level as college coaches are making decisions about who's opting into that team. Because one bad egg on a team creates a really tough situation. Like these teams are tight knit. You're spending a significant amount of time together, and it has to be like a cohesive team. And you could be the best athlete, but if you have a really crappy attitude or your parents are the ones screaming in the stands and being obnoxious, like I guarantee you that coach is having second thoughts about whether or not you should be in the team or if that makes sense for them. So,
oh yeah, they're judging the family for sure.
100%. That coach doesn't want to deal with that. And there's 100 players that they have to choose from. So like show up as your best self, do your work to be not only the best athlete, but great teammate and a great human. And hopefully your family's doing the same, which is what some of the tools that I've built and the things that you're building are trying to support and do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think, again, skill, like your overall trajectory as an athlete is really going to come down to some things that are outside of your control. And that was the message I was trying to get through to my son. Even though his mom and I both played college level athletics, we know that like there's a level of you're lucky you get to do that. And you got to want to do it. And so there's always, again, so much that you can control. So what are the things that we can control? And for us, like we were just sitting in the bedroom last night while my 9-year-old's in bed and the 11-year-old came in, sat on the floor, and the three of us are just hanging out. And we're talking about their first day of school. And we have an expectation. You may not want to be leaders someday, but as long as you're my kid, you're going to be leaders where you are,
Mm-hmm.
Because they've both said that, like, I don't want to be a leader. I was like, yeah, because that comes with expectations, right?
Yeah.
But like in leadership development, it teaches you just how to be, like, as you wrote on that board, or a phrase that I was taught for a long time, was servant leadership. So it's not about you. There's healthy boundaries that you can have while being a servant leader. And for my kids, I'm like, hey, I want you to know when you're with your friends, be an example. If
Right.
they're not being respectful to the teacher or like whatever, I want you to use please and thank you, ma'am and sir. And you talk to the custodian, the cafeteria worker, the principal, and the teachers and the aides. They're all equal.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't look down on one or the other. You talk to them and you use your manners with every single doll. And my 9-year-old's like, yeah, Dad, we get it. We're not 3.
The sass. Those are
He
your
is,
values. That's the values that you're instilling, your family
yeah,
values and that you want in your kids. And ultimately, I think the kids who have that type of values built within them will naturally, like you talk about like natural born leaders, but that's like being comfortable
yeah,
to be in that type of situation or challenged, which is another great thing that you learn from sport, will build that leadership muscle when you
yep,
have that foundation. And that's what makes, I think, exceptional leaders later on. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's where I think we can be intentional with sports, whether that's a fair ask or not a fair ask. If we want a society or a culture where we are kind to each other, we extend and see the positive intent. I think more is asked of coaches and adults or sports adults. It's like you need to grow in self-awareness too. Just because your kid's in sports isn't just because it's something to do. Take time to be intentional with that.
Yeah. There's a, like, we, in like corporate world, and it's not just corporate, but that's how I think about it. Because it's like this lifelong learning, like be a
Mhm.
lifelong learner, you're never finished or like nothing's ever perfect. Right. And I think if more people had that type of mindset to all areas of life, whether that's your career or your children or being a parent or a coach, whatever it might be. I was just talking with my good friend about this the other day. He owns a business and was like sharing some frustrations and challenges. And he was being very like complimentary and nice to me, but he was like, I know, like you're reading these books or how you spend your free time is so indicative of like the type of human and development that you have. And, he was like kids these days or like the younger employees that he has. So he was like having a moment. But the point was that this like skill of lifelong learning, whether you're 20 or 40 or like throughout your whole life, like what a gift to be able to like continue. How boring would it be to just be who you are and think that you have all the answers? Like to me, there's so much joy and like excitement from learning new things or having a different perspective or being open-minded to that maybe I don't have all the answers. Like, isn't that the best part of like life? Like getting to grow and not be closed off to being better. I mean, I'm trying to be better parent every day and I don't get it right. I think most of the time I don't get it right, but I keep trying and showing up and learning new things to be better. And I guess like that's the like if more people approached youth sports or any area that like that, we'd probably be a lot better off.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. And that's something where you and I've talked about with our conversations, that I think there's a lot that we can give to
Mm-hmm.
sports parents and coaches and administrators. And as they listen, you know, when we're talking about the systems underneath the things that we're seeing, that it just requires a different level of questions. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the questions that has come up recently is this idea of, what do we offer to kids during the years where they're where cut sports are introduced.
Right.
If sports or participating in sport activity, if the research is right, and it says like participating in a sport, whether it's team or individual sport, just like better health outcomes, better career outcomes. Why do we limit, why do our systems limit kids to just, the school sports and the cut sports versus the no cut sports? Can there be more options? So for example, some no cut sports, wrestling, cross country, track. I don't know if there's others. Maybe swimming is no cut. Depends on your participation numbers versus your cut sports, volleyball, basketball, baseball. Oh, football's usually a no cut sport. But if a kid doesn't there's so many more sports out there, and there's kids who love those cut sports but want to still play organized. My kid was asking me this the other day. Because I did not play, so I played college basketball, but I went to a really large high school and I didn't play for the school team. So freshman year, I played for a high school that had about 1,300 kids in it. And then I didn't grow a lot. So I was a prolific junior high player, probably the best of my career, right? Played freshman year, didn't really grow. And then transferred to a school that was over three times larger than the school I went to freshman year. So 3,800 kids, almost 4,000 kids, or 1,100 kids in my class alone. Got cut from the sophomore team. I was a transfer. I was 5'6", nothing, But then I grew 6 inches between sophomore year, junior year. So I was 6 foot. And I didn't go back out for the team. I didn't work to make my way back to it. But what my school offered was intramurals. So yeah, they had intramural badminton, they had intramural basketball, they had intramural volleyball. They had an opportunity because again, the basketball team's only taken 12 guys. So just in my class, you got 1,100 kids. That was something that helped me stay active in the sport. And because I love the sport, I would still work on the sport, even though I wasn't playing for the school team. And I was, with anything, I wish I would have gone to a bigger school. I ended up playing baseball all 4 years, Division III, but I went to a smaller school that I was able to walk on to the basketball team one season. And just being able to play in that, was really cool. But it taught me a lot about myself that if I was in a organized space with coaches and adults, I probably would have been better mentally by the time I got to college.
Yeah.
And even then I was a pretty selfish player in baseball. I was kind of a jerk for only being slightly above average. It's one thing, you talk about this with athletes earlier. It's one thing if somebody's really good, right? And they have a terrible attitude, but they're winning, right? So people just put up with it because this player helps them win. It's awesome when the really, really good player has a really great servant leadership attitude. But what about the average or slightly above average player who has a really bad attitude? This guy. So, that's where that's why I'm
hard
passionate.
On yourself.
That's why I'm passionate about what I do, because how do we provide ways for kids to stay in organized sports with leaders? So our intramurals were student assembled, it's not like we had any coaches or anybody that was overseeing us, because our high schoolers probably should have had adults, but what would it look like if there were adult leaders or college kids that were helping us out? And that's kind of what we wanted to touch on today. I sent you an organization that I wanted to discuss. What organization did we settle on for today?
Really,
so every other episode, I am putting you on the spot, but we prepared this time. As she's looking for that, we decided every other episode, we would pick out somebody who's building something that is either local and or national. And we picked out Next Level Sports. Tell me about Next Level Sports.
So Next Level Sports is cool. They're an organization that does exactly what you just shared, put an interlevel/rec league in schools and that to provide opportunities for kids that probably wouldn't be getting to play on the actual school teams, but gives access to more kids to play sports longer. Their main sports are flag football, volleyball, a few other ones.
Basketball, and they do camps.
They do camps, yep. Girls flag football.
Which is huge right now.
I know it's going to be the Olympics.
It's a huge opportunity. If you have a girl,
so cool.
who loves sports and gets cut from something, but wants to keep playing something, find a local flag football thing.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a
There's
lot of investment in that.
millions of dollars being invested in college girls flag football. The early participation rates and fan participation for flag football is huge, probably bigger than they thought. Maybe it's because it's new, it's novel, but I think this is a really big
And
deal.
the Olympics. I think that it's being in the Olympics in 2028 is going to be a big thing.
Yeah. So for those who understand sometimes how the Olympics work, there's different qualifiers you have to play in. You have to have so many qualifying participation in various Olympic sanctioned events. So, a popular one was the last Summer Olympics. Why did we have, basically regular Joes playing in the men's 3-on-3 basketball? Like the only really notable person was Jimmer Fredette, who was still playing pro ball, but like everybody else had a 9 to 5, but played in college.
I think the breakdancing went viral.
And that was also
yeah.
That was I'm talking about unfair treatment of somebody.
I just read an article that she wrote or was interviewed by, I don't know if it was the New York Times or New Yorker or something, that it was sad. Like she caught a lot of
like
so much negativity.
I think for most people, they don't care super passionately about the things that they do for a living. So they can be like, come to my office and feel free to write up any article you want on my job and how I'm terrible at it. I don't care.
Sure.
Yes. But she cares deeply because she's been working at it. She was on the Olympic stage, right? And then, anyways, that was a complete sidebar. Basketball, the topics were like, why aren't the NBA players? Like if the NBA players were in there, nobody would have a chance. Well, it's because none of the NBA players played in any Olympic sanctioned 3-on-3 events that would allow them to qualify for the team. So that needs to, so same thing with NFL football players, right? They flag football, and you've got the people who just like flag football is their thing. And there was some talk around that. Flag footballers were like, bring on the NFL players, we'll beat them too. I love the audacity and the confidence, but, getting introduced to these sports sooner, in structured, organized ways with it's kind of almost like a franchise, right? So small investment, and they help with everything. Next Level helps with jerseys, they help with scheduling, they help with registration, they help with taking payments. And I think one thing that I really liked about them was that every team is coached, because it's for younger kids, every team is coached by a local high school or college student athlete with a site director, training, and oversight.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
So you were talking about leadership development. We're passionate about leadership development. And I think, again, it's just a buzz phrase. And leadership development oftentimes just comes down to the intentionality behind I don't care if my kids lead something someday. They have to lead themselves. And in leading themselves, how you treat, people that you might consider low on, the rung of the corporate ladder versus the president of a company, right? You shouldn't, on a certain level, yes, you might have a different conversation with the president versus the person who's stocking the shelves of the whatever. But they're both human. So why should one get special treatment over the other?
Yeah.
Right. So just a leadership thing. So with Next Level Sports, have we made youth sports too complicated while trying to make them better?
I love it. They're no cut. It's pretty like plug and play. I think it's so cool that they're getting, I mean, what are your thoughts? If your kids played intramural in high school and had like a college athlete coaching them, do you think that that's voting better than like a parent coaching or a teacher coaching?
I think it does two things. I think the kid would they would listen to the college athlete more.
Yeah, they're relatable.
Right.
They're closer in age, right?
Yeah. And it also gives, I think, and this is something that we're going to try to institute, I think, a little bit more often here, is getting the high schoolers more involved in our local YMCA that does some leagues.
Yeah.
We've had some like real go-getters that just go ahead and volunteer for it, but we're trying to encourage that a little bit more. One of our
I just had someone message me, just like very kind, like we were just connecting on Instagram, and she started a league And she was sharing that one of the things that's been really successful for her is the involvement, that community involvement piece of the high schoolers, both coaching and roughing. And I forget exactly which sport it was for. I think she's out of Massachusetts. So maybe it's like field hockey or I'd have to double check. But again, this like getting, as I talked to a handful of different youth sports leaders as I was kind of taking on this role and working on positive play project things, multiple people shared that too. This like community based, getting the high school involved. And that's how our kids' lacrosse program is. All of the refs every weekend are the high school lacrosse players that they get to go like be on the field for a game. And it's just like this whole full circle. I mean, I keep saying community, but I can't think of like a better word of like what it does for a town and the kids, and both the high school athletes are developing, putting in those tough challenges and being in that space of like being a leader. So
I think that's something that rec sports, I think, could do better than travel sports, is the communal involvement.
For sure.
Where more kids are getting more reps,
locally in your
locally
own
without having to travel all over.
Yep.
And
cost is down. Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of kids, the question sometimes becomes like, hey, how can I get the bigger paycheck in college? What's the biggest college I can go to? But for most kids, it should be, where can I go get playing time?
Or the best
so
education.
like, why play on some elite travel team where you're number 12 on the roster? I think kids should experience
$10,000 a year, which
just so you're on the elite team.
Yeah.
Right? No, go to the mediocre team or the rec team. Like if you can't dominate your rec, you should not be playing travel. Now,
I think
travel's shifted.
For sure. If you're playing because, I know what you're saying, and I agree. But I think the reason people are opting into travel is the same reason you started a league. You want to do it differently, or you want, create a different experience. And I think a lot of kids and families are chasing trying to find the next better thing.
Yeah. It's just a reorganization, just because I think, especially where you live, where there's greater concentration of population, I think rec leagues, little leagues, those should be like the biggest thing.
More prominent.
And then you've got, because again, I know people who do both. Where we live, we have to cooperate with these different towns, and we're forming travel teams because, like even in your town situation, you have such a disparity in talent, natural talent, which it all evens out in the end anyways.
Right.
We didn't create a club to create college athletes. We created a club because we wanted control. And I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what we did.
Do you think, so Next Level is pretty strict about parents can assist the student coach without taking over.
Yeah.
And the officials are often these like 16, 17, 18-year-old kids as well. Do you think, like, how is Next Level navigating? Because I would imagine it's like the problems and issues we're seeing of parents being overly involved and loud on the sideline. It happens in rec, it happens in travel. Like, how are they doing it differently? Or if like they have unlocked this, I think we could solve world peace.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the intentionality with the coach mentors.
Yeah.
If there's an intentionality around giving kids, these older students, the opportunity to lead these younger kids, then they can give them immediate feedback on communication, on how to set up a drill, how to handle feedback from the stands, or to ignore it. So Next Level.
I wonder if there's like, as parents, I'm thinking like for my own self, like if I see Sarah from the high school coaching these kids, like she's out here, I'm wondering if like I'm going to have a different level of support for her, or like versus if it's a parent who I'm like holding to a different standard of coaching, or like being on top of the ref or whatever it is. Like if that's just setting a different expectation in and of itself without.
Oh, yeah. You can always guarantee that there's those parents who are like, I don't need a high schooler coaching my kid. Give me an adult. They're not getting the same instruction.
Well, then this is probably not right for you. Yeah.
It's probably not right for you. Go pay the thousands of dollars for a trainer, because can a national brand still feel local? So if I bring in Next Level Sports here in Clinton, we all run things locally here. Can we still make it feel local?
I think that the cool thing about what they're doing is with that community piece, that it probably still does, because it's staying. like within your own community and your own high school. I think that next level is just giving more of like the operational structure to give access. It's not necessarily like, next level sports. People aren't like flying in from next level sports to operate this. It's still your own
Yeah.
people within your own community, which probably creates that type of environment.
It's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, I think it touches back on the professionalization side. What can we do well that makes it easier for local operators to get things off the ground and running smoothly? And if they take care of all those pieces, then it really does come down to the people who are in charge. So they may not represent next level sports, but we hope that, and this is where I think education is so important. I think we all can stand to grow in our self-awareness about how we handle conflicts. What kind of triggers us a little bit when we hear a coach or a parent or an official say something, but whether or not people are actually going to go do that, that's a whole nother thing. So I like what next level sports is about. I'm a huge proponent of intramurals. I played intramurals in college. I played intramurals in high school, and I was able to play on school teams, in both scenarios at different years.
And you still play now, like you love sports.
I do.
Isn't that like you did it right? You're still playing. You still love it. You use it for exercise. So do I.
And I know it at a high level, and I feel confident helping my kids navigate that because I didn't have that level of support growing up. Yeah, 100%. And I think, as any self-prescribed podcaster would say, I think I have something to say on this subject. So this is why we're here.
It'd be very sad. I don't know what we'd be doing here otherwise. It's true.
Nolan's never played sports in his life.
Tried a coaching guide.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else to add to this. And if you've made it this far in the episode, this is our longest one yet.
Yeah, I have to work on that.
Yeah. Well, check out Next Level Sports at nextlevelsports.com. Again, they had no idea we're talking about them, but we'll tag them. And then if you have any experience with Next Level Sports, drop it in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to hear from people who have participated.
Sweet. Well, I'll see you next week.